Hi, Stefan from Old School Automotive. Well, here's the little thing. Can you make a trash motor work? Uh, yes, you can. This motor been locked up because of this. So I guess it happened when they were moving the car, bringing the car here from the action or whatever. Was the oil. But this one actually starts spinning the rod. This one was kind of melted to the crank. This one did not get damaged. I mean, kind of. So these two were bad. And since there is no information for this motor, okay, first of all, this is the bearings from the rod that from the rod that survived. I did get BMW original bearings. Yeah, that's the ones that got screwed. So, can you imagine how the crank was? How I got the crank back to usable condition? Lots of sandpaper. I started out with 800,000 and so forth on the bad ones. On the one that then I got this thing. I only use the 3M products because I did try different brands and they were leaving scratches or they were just coming apart and just not worth it. So basically, to get the final 3,000, 5,000, then I got jewelry polishing coals to get to polish it. Now, when I was doing this, I was measuring pretty much because these three did not have a problem. Pretty much I just had to clean them up, but this one cleaned out more. These two stayed in the original size. This one was kind of out of shape. I got it back in a shape. How did I do it? So it takes a while. Do it on one side more, like 20 times, measure it, so forth, and finally you can see a little bit of improvement. Then you do the whole thing, and that way you can kind of gear it somewhere. But there was another problem with this crank. First time I did this, I did remove two bearing cups to check the mains, and they are fine, but this one had a mark from the crank touching the bearing. I didn't pay the attention first, but then I got the rods done. I put them on, I put the cups, and I put this one, everything good, and I put this one, the engine kind of binds. Oh man, yes, this one got hot and bent the crank right here. How I fix that? There is an old method of cutting a chisel to the shape of a crank. Actually, on this one I did it from the inside, and you hit it right in that groove. On the other side, I mean, you have to figure out where you need to do it. On my case, I had to do it from inside, and I got the crank to stay. I got a dial indicator, so I got the crank to stay like between the specks. So now it was turning, but of course I kind of put some marks here and there, so I polished this one again. Now the thing is, since you cannot get a repair size bearings for this motor, period, there is one way. It's not a right way, it's not a correct way, but there is one way that you might need someday. So I figure out what I'm missing as far as the clearance on number 4. This was a 0.1 thousandths of a millimeter. On the number 1 cylinder, 2 thousandths of a millimeter, and I was able to find a copper foil Y copper. This is actually was installed. This is how it's gonna look. Y copper, because of the it doesn't block the heat going through the bearing. If you are gonna use a regular foil, it's gonna block the heat, the bearing gonna overheat, and it's gonna spin it again. Copper will work longer, and of course this is not a permanent fix, but from my experience, some engines done like that run for a very long time. Everything depends how well you do this and how is your crank are in shape. If it's round, you can actually make the clearance. Oh, that's how it actually looks. Look, 2,000 of a millimeter under the bearing. How you do this? You put the coil, you put the foil. You can maybe use a light oil to help it stick. Put it there, squeeze the bearing, put it in, put it in a position, then use a razor blade to trim out the excess of the foil, and make sure that you're not leaving anything. Another most important thing, when you do this kind of a shimming, you need to take off the kind of a, let's say if it's 2 thousandths over the millimeter here, well, you do need to take off a little bit from these edges of the bearing. I honestly did not measure it. I just kind of did it by the eye, but you can kind of figure out. But don't take out too much. If you don't take nothing out, what will happen, the bearing will go out of shape when you torque it down. So have to kind of you know, and I would suggest to do it only on one side of the bearing, so you don't get it out of the shape. Basically, if you got a flat surface when the bearing is out, very flat surface, it needs to be done evenly. Rub it around, like, you know, 10 times or something. Well, you will see it. Or use a marker. That's how I did it. I used the permanent marker to see how much I'm taking out. So that way, in case if you don't have the correct size of the bearings, or they are not available, like in my case, and you are trying to make the engine work for maybe a little bit, maybe make it work. But once again, if you got a spun rod, you do need to clean the crank. Actually, on this motor, yeah, clean the journals, oil journals, and blow out everything. Actually, on this motor I even put oil in here and I pressurized it, so it's been flashed. But that's a must. And of course, you need to open up the oil pump and clean it out or replace it. But this is one of the ways that you are not supposed to be doing this, but you know, one day you might need to. Sometimes you need to get by, sometimes you just don't have any other choice. But honestly, I think if you get the crank in a shape and you got the clearance. And another thing, the rods, of course, after it was spun like that, I did check the rod for, I do have a inner macrometer. I did check the rod to be in a shape, so the rod is in a shape. That's pretty much the whole reason why I started doing this. I was thinking to replace the crankshaft, but this is not easy motor because you have to buy a pretty expensive timing tool to line it up. No, there is more to it than just replacing the crank, but that's a different story. That's how you can kind of get the crank back in a shape, replace the bearings, and adjust the clearance on it. Because when I tried the original bearings without any kind of a shimming, what did I have? I had nothing. Pretty much it was like that much. No, like that much. So, and compared to the good ones, that was too much for this motor. So I decided to shim it up. Well, alright, thank you, goodbye.